we've got something really special for you. Could we have some quiet for some very, very special future casts? Because we have some messages coming from the future. Could we have your attention, guys? So my name is Lucien Tarnowski, and tonight is my dream come true. Thank you so much for being part of my dream, and I hope my dream can in turn be a realization of your dreams, and in turn a realization of our collective dreams. Because I think Davos needs some dreams. Do you agree? Do you agree we need to use the word love a little bit more here? Do you agree we need a better future now? Are you with me? Are we going to do this? So here's my request. Tonight, from the moment you're in this space, this sacred space, I would invite you to be yourselves in 2030. Come with everything you dream of has been realized. Share your stories. Share your dreams. Share how we did it. Who are we? How did history change? Because tonight we have something to celebrate. We have achieved the Sustainable Development Goals. Woo! Woo! Because the future is not something to be predicted. It's something to be achieved. And we've done it. We've worked together for the greatest human achievement of all time. Guys, this is important. Can we have your attention, please? This is important. Can we have your attention, please? So, 11 years ago in Davos, we had this crazy idea. We got the idea from JFK's speech in 1961, where JFK said, by the end of the decade, we're going to put a man on the moon and bring him safely back to Earth. At the time, James Webb was running NASA. James Webb's childhood dream was to go to the moon. But James Webb in 1961 knew that we didn't have a clue how to get to the moon. So James Webb was a Jedi. And James Webb had a genius idea. He threw the biggest party NASA had ever thrown. He invited the brightest minds and the biggest hearts across America to come to celebrate the successful landing on the moon in 1961. Rocket scientists, engineers, PhDs, professors came from all across America into the smartest room they'd ever stepped into. They looked around, they looked at each other, and they said, you know what? I can be part of history. I can bend the arc of history. I no longer think that going to the moon is a possibility, I think it's an inevitability. 400,000 contractors later, 30,000 employees later, 8 years later, James Webb led the Apollo mission and we landed on the moon. Now the Sustainable Development Goals cost a whole lot more. In fact, here's an interesting stat. NASA's budget from 1958 to 2018 has been $603 billion. The Sustainable Development Goals, we think, between 2015 and 2030 are going to cost $65 trillion. That's 100 times NASA's entire budget from its inception. So it's about time that we celebrated the achievement of the SDGs, because by God we need to believe that they're possible. Our future relies on it. Our children's future relies on it. So I invite you tonight to be part of that celebration. Here's my vision for the future. By 2030, today, January 24th, 2030, Civana will have 1 billion members. We would have thrown the greatest party on earth. We would have been selling tickets to the greatest party on earth for 10 years, asking billionaires and the poorest individuals to buy their ticket. All is welcome to this party. Every single city on the planet will be having this party. And what will we be celebrating? The achievement of the Sustainable Development Goals. We would have bent the arc of history and collectively dropped the love bomb. We would see each other as humans, as our ancestors once did. We would recognize that nature is not something outside of us, that we are nature, that nature is a mirror to us. Our children will be growing food locally, getting their hands dirty and picking food, knowing where it comes from. Our healthcare will be provided by our communities. Our education system will be the greatest you could ever imagine. We'll have universal basic income delivered through communities. This is my dream, and this is what's beginning back in 2019 here in Davos, when we first planted the seed that the SDGs were possible. Now, what also happened to this great room back in 2019 is they were part of making this happen. They had a dream for the future, and they recognized that it was our collective future, that we're all invited. We planted a seed to begin a $30 million raise to create the operating system for the SDGs. We created the most sophisticated AI for humanity possible, because it is no longer okay that the best AI is selling people more shit they don't need. It's time. It's time. It's our time. So, thank you for being part of this journey for 11 years with us. We're going to have something special where we're going to invite yourselves to come and share for 1 minute what happened. How were you involved? Shape history. And before we do, I'd like to thank our sponsors tonight that believed in this vision for the future, because dreams are not what we have in our sleep. They're what prevent us from sleeping. Thank you, Blockbase, for hosting us. Yan Ling, where are you? Thank you, Good Money. Thank you, Avalon. Thank you, Modern Meadow. Thank you, We Rise Up. Thank you, I Compromise. And with that said, Yan Ling, tell us what happened.
2013. I think we can compete, repeat, and reinvent the story at the same time. You have experienced this space. I think by 2030, we have finished those homeworks. We finished spiritual framework rebuilding. We finished plenary regenerative research. We finished conscious education and social technology development, art and storytelling, integral health feature, scholarly, completely different understanding, ecosystem technology also built. I also have assembled the star troop, including you, and there are 7 kind of people, and you will find one of them. And you'll find your unique spot and contribute in this organic whole. Thank you.
Thank you, Yan Ling.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. So each one of us will be able to realize why we were here. What were we born for? Thank you, Yan Ling. Bear, good money. Good money. Change the entire financial system. Good money.
All right. 2030, reverse engineering this future. Making the world work for 100% of humanity in the shortest time possible through spontaneous cooperation without ecological offense or to the disadvantage of anyone. Democratizing the access to the ownership. Fundamentally, providing a mechanism for all citizens in the world to be stakeholders in the upside that we create in an omni-considerate framework for all sentient beings on this planet. We have the power as consumers. We have the power to vote with our money, to vote with our feet, and create exponential change. This is the power when technology and the blockchain and the APIs come together in a way that allows us in mass to make decisions as consumers to claim sovereignty over our data, over our money, and create the amplification and network effects that unlock a new paradigm of conscious capitalism that changes this planet for good and aligns the incentives of humanity in a way that will unlock the true power and potential of humanity in the future. Thank you.
Bear, good money. Thank you. Thank you, my brother. Thank you. Avron, global identities, self-sovereign identity, trust. What's it going to look like?
So, trust. That's a crisis we're in, and we don't have that anymore. We have re-established trust in the digital world, in the real world, in our institutions, in our economies, our infrastructure. Fake news, thing of the past. Your identity, you own, and you know. When you're online, when you're interacting in the digital world, whatever it looks like, you know that only you are you, and you know whoever you're transacting with or interacting with, they are who they say they are. And it's easy. It's friction-free. It's so, like, the usernames and passwords and reset loops or hell, they seem so ancient to us, like maybe rotary phones today. And you know you can move freely and speak freely and be you. Be authentic. Thank you.
This here happens to be my wife. And mother of our daughter, which is why we are doing this, because the next generation matters. And it is our job to be the greatest ancestors we can be. So, next, we have Clue, Femtech.
Really?
Hans, tell us what Femtech looks like.
So in 2030, we're gonna have hundreds of millions of girls, actually every young girl in the world, owning a smartphone, which seems little, but we are way away from that. And the smartphone empowers young girls to know their health, to know their bodies, and to achieve SDG number 3, which is health for young girls and maternal sort of mortality and child mortality will dramatically go down for women having the children they don't want to, having the children they want to have, and not having the children they don't want to have. And in 2030, I will also hand over my company, which is Clue, the largest female health app, to my daughter, who is then 25, now 4 years old, and will make her CEO of that company. And that's going to be 2030.
Nice, thank you. Femtech, too, thank you. Do we have Modern Meadow in the room? Andras, the future of printing materials. We no longer need to slaughter animals. Tell us what it's going to look like, Andras.
Thank you. So the premise of this party, my friends, is that we are now in 2030.
Correct.
And we have achieved the SDGs. Global warming is a thing of the past. How did we get here? We got here. We could not have gotten here if we didn't transform the world of materials, atoms, the things that all of the stuff in our households and our wardrobes is made of. Because that stuff, way back when, in a prior century, was a huge burden on the environment. You guys remember in a prior century, we wore stuff made of animals, right? Leather, right? We ate meat that was also made of animals, and that antiquated technology had a huge environmental footprint. In a prior century, that stuff was the largest user of land, water, and the biggest contributor to greenhouse gases. But now in 2030, we can look back on that because we transitioned. We transitioned to a new generation of bio-based materials. We have a way of making materials like leather without the animal. And that transition began, I don't know if you remember this, my friends, but at this party 11 years ago in 2019. 2019 was an essential year. It was the year that biofabricated materials showed up. It was the year that it became available to the consumer, and it was the year that it started transforming the supply chains of large consumer companies throughout the world. And it took, yes it did, 11 years. But now, in 2030, I mean, you know, if you wear leather and it came from an animal, that's old school. Now, if you're wearing a leather product, it is biofabricated. And it is much better for the environment. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. I do think generations to come will look back on how we treat animals today as a form of genocide. Thank you, Andres, for all your work. It's incredible. So, what about humanity as an interstellar civilization? We definitely prioritize being a unified civilization because that's how we achieve the SDGs. Are we unified? Yeah. Let me hear you. Are we unified? Yeah. Now we're going to hear from Chris Kemp. Once the CTO and CIO of NASA itself, closing a full circle of James Webb here tonight. Chris Kemp's going to tell us where we went outside of our own planet.
So looking back from 2030, we will now be able to send anything to space. We'll be able to go to space. We'll have cities in space. We'll have a permanent human settlement on another planet that is able to sustain itself without the Earth anymore. We'll be able to have the ability to observe and connect absolutely everything on Earth. There'll be a thin patina of satellites that will be able to monitor the waters of the level of water in every lake, where crops are growing. After a natural disaster, we'll be able to see exactly what the impact was. We'll be able to send humanitarian relief immediately. We'll have the ability to truly understand the entire Earth system, to be able to monitor carbon output from factories, to be able to figure out where cars are creating congestion so we can figure out where to build roads. All of the technology to do this is being developed this decade. And by 2030, everyone will be able to build satellites and put them in space. Everybody will be able to go to space and look back down at the Earth. And I think it's probably one of the most exciting decades in the history of humanity, because we'll look back at 2019, 11 years ago, before any of this happened, and before we had a settlement on the moon, before we could see everything on the Earth, and just took for granted that all of the billions of devices that we had, you had to be near a cell phone tower, and you had to have a Wi-Fi hotspot to get connected. 2019 was really disconnected and really boring, and we had no idea what the hell was going on in this world. So when we're here in 2030, we're looking at being able to really understand what's happening on this planet in an unprecedented way as we all look back on it and at our space station.
Chris, thank you. Thank you. Interstellar civilization. Thank you. Sophie. Sophie, tell us about what's going to happen to the human consciousness.
2030, we all know now who we are. The sacred is within, and we can feel it. And we can see the other one, knowing that the other one is the same as ourselves. So we are treating him really well, with heart. Everything is about how we can connect, collaborate, being in unity, in humility and in integrity. It's just about how we can be together in one with the planet, because we know at this point that nothing is available for us as human beings if we are not connecting to nature and to our inner nature. So at this point, we realized that in 2019, it was only the beginning of maybe we could look at nature in another way. Maybe we can just open our heart and realize that we are destroying it. We are destroying ourselves. It was time for us to stand up and to change our way to be. And all together in 2019, we decided to work, and we are there today in 2030, and our kids are so happy now. So thank you for having made the commitment to be together 11 years ago. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Nature's not something we go into. We are nature. Tony Lane, tell us what's happened to gender. For too many millennia, it's been a male-dominated civilization. We got it wrong. We have become in harmony with our genders. The masculine and the feminine, the sacred masculine and the sacred feminine are now in balance. And in doing so, we've unlocked our role as stewards of this planet. Tony Lane, tell us what's happening.
Well, I mean, I have no idea how that's going to change because I'm just walking around struggling to get a date. So if anyone can help me get to 2030 a little faster, that'd be nice. I work on building stateless global societies. And so I think in developing our identity more comprehensively, we will further understand what it means to be an individual. And through that individuality, we will obviate the constructs that have constrained us into dynamics based on scarcity politics. And we will move closer into a world of real abundance, which, by the way, we already live in that world. That world already exists. We're just blind to it because we continue to believe that our existence is based on winning a game that's been created for us, not one that we define ourselves. When artificial intelligence and automation is able to replace most of the labor that has been artificially defining human purpose, we will become a more self-defined humanity. And in embracing that self-definition, we will embrace our own creative potential. And through that, I believe, further explore ourselves and our liberty. So thank you guys.
Tony Lane, thank you, thank you. Thank you, I appreciate that, Tony. We want that world. We have a young daughter. We want that world now. Mamadou, tell us, the decade for Africa. Tell us what happened.
Yeah. So in 2030, Africa will have become a safe haven and a destination. Has become, yeah. And a favorite destination of the planet. Because everything you could find anywhere in the world, you'll find it in Africa. But more importantly, poverty will have been eradicated. Poverty is eradicated. And do you know how poverty got eradicated? It started with something that does not exist anymore. They used to call it blockchain. Right? And what they did, they put an artificial intelligence system on it so that you can redistribute wealth. Naturally, every time there's a transaction, wealth gets redistributed to those who needed it. And more importantly, resources became an asset. Africa used to be poor, but was rich in natural resources. Suddenly, with that technology, you could digitalize all your natural resources and become rich and share the wealth with all the planet. That's the new world. Poverty is over. AI redistributes to those who need. And if you don't have food, thanks to biotechnologies, you can recreate artificially synthetic food and buy it from your mobile phone and make it happen. That's the new world. Equality, diversity, progress, enlightenment. Thank you. MC, please come back.
Carolina, tell us. Come on up. Thank you, Mamadou. Thank you, Mamadou. Carolina, tell us. What happened in Latin America? What happened with the next generation?
First, let me figure out what's happening right now because I was not prepared for this. So for us in Latin America, we would be looking forward for inclusion, but not only within the region, just within the whole world. I should not be in the necessity to tell you that, hey, I'm Mexican, and try to see how would you react. And just go from the diversity that we are already managing to the inclusion stage. That will be brilliant.
Thank you, thank you. Now, who has a burning vision, a burning dream you would like to share? Please.
Thank you. It's a dream that is coming true, and in 2019 we decided that we cannot wait anymore, and we're gonna save all the planet's forests, and we're gonna protect all the Earth on planet. You see, in 2019 we made a simple calculation that there are 200 million hectares of land that needs to be restored in the world. It's real. And if we try and restore it at a human speed, as we previously done, it would have taken us 200 years. That's the size of India. So we decided, why are we don't have 200 years, how can we restore entire size of India globally, which will mitigate climate change, which will create wealth for all the nations, in 10 years. And we've done it with the help of drones. And that's the company that I work for, by Carbon Engineer. It's real, it's been planting trees in Australia, in Myanmar, with the help of drones, 10 times the human speed and half the cost. So the world just woken up to the most efficient solution, and we don't have climate change anymore. Voila.
You've given back our lands. Thank you, thank you. A regenerative world. Let's make that now. Any other burning visions? Andrew, tell us what happened.
Andrew. So, in 2020, one of the biggest challenges we faced in mental health was depression and anxiety. We had a global culture where over 50% of the population is suffering with mental health problems and are on SSRIs, which are basically ineffective. In 2021, in the West, we reintroduced plant medicine in a cultural context. That replaced many of the places that organise religion. Do you know that most churches in 2020, as an example in the UK, 50% of towns in the UK have lost their churches. There's a dislocation of communities in 2020. We recognise this, and in 2021 we introduced psychedelics in a clinical and cultural context that reintroduced it in a local level. We introduced it as a coming of age, 15-year-olds in ceremonies, partook in plant medicine ceremonies that gave them a deep sense of oneness and connection, where we could look in each other's eyes again, stripped away from the prefrontal cortex that is dominating the narrative that we have. By 20, that catalyst of openness and connection and oneness and attachment to nature, the lobbying that we had with the politicians, that started opening up. And do you know, it happened here. It really did happen here in 2019, because one of the leading researchers from a neuroscientist based out of Imperial College in London, Robin Carr Harris, actually had the floor in the main Congress for 30 minutes. And he gave a discussion on mental health and the role of psychedelics. In that audience, in the main Congress hall, it's happening. It really is happening. And it's a key modality that is going to basically allow us to unfold, to hit the development goals that we now have in 2030. Plant medicine, baby, it's part of the
Activating collective human potential. Do you believe as well that we might not be the first civilization to actually got collective human intelligence? That might have happened before? In fact, wherever we look around in nature, we see collective intelligence, and maybe we're capable of it too. Andrew, tell us.
So in 2030, we discovered that business education and MBA programs like the ones we offer at Side Business School at the University of Oxford is really easy. It begins with understanding planetary boundaries. You cannot control capital until you love what is around us. Until you've shown that we are one and we're not separate. You cannot move on to the second stage, which is to show that you have understood yourself. The good, the bad, the shadow, the light, the love, the rage, the greed. And from that self-awareness, only then will we teach you about the power of capital. So from that place of understanding yourself, and from that place of understanding the world we're in, and loving yourself, and loving that world, and a sense of oneness with all things, it is then you are given the responsibility of capitalism, one of the most powerful things we have ever found, to be in service of the greater good. Thank you.
Andrew, thank you so much. Thank you for your service. And wouldn't it be great? Right now we thank veterans for their military service, and so we should. But wouldn't it be great if the world's largest army was the Love Army? Wouldn't that be great? That whenever we saw people, whenever we met people in the street that were working on the team, on the A team, because there is no B, that were working for the achievement of the Sustainable Development Goals, that we said, thank you for your service. Thank you. I honor you and I honor your service. It's time. Now, Alden Bevington, tell us. This is a very dear colleague and a very dear friend, and someone that I owe a lot to for helping shape Civana to the beautiful birth that we are now.
Everyone. You know, 2019 was, it really seems like a lifetime ago at this point. I do remember that, of course, we had a killer party, and we launched the foundation of Civana. But something that had been happening just about the beginning of the year, which was really neat, is after we had really gotten laser pointed on Civana's first offering to the world, which turns out to, we figured out that what the big gap in the defensive lines that we wanted to run through was creating an operational platform for the SDG community that was not siloed, that was not, not communicating with itself. Just about the beginning of the year, in January, when we got this idea, developers started showing up. Top-tier developers. We were from San Francisco. I was living in San Francisco at that time in my life. And they just were showing up. They'd be sitting next to me in a line. We were in Davos. And we had, at this party, I made this announcement to the group. Now I know that this is a connected group of people. You maybe know some developers, system thinkers. And you all spoke with the most brilliant minds, system minds, developers, platform developers, coders that you knew, and said, this group of Civana is convening a design consortium to build the best tool that we can make to serve the SDGs. And you went on to Civana.com and .org, that's right, is an organization. You encourage your friends to link in, and the rest was history.
Thank you. And let's think about this. We have the 4 horsemen right now. Back in 2019, we had the whole 4 horsemen, worth almost $3 trillion. And we thought it was time that there was an organization that was collectively owned by 1 billion people that could hold into account, hold to checks and balances, Google, Facebook, Amazon, Apple. Because as exponential technology was coming in, we realized that it is in humanity's interest for us to have a decentralized ownership structure. And it's about time we created that. So, we're going to take one last vision. We're going to take Theo and then one more. Do we have a burning vision from the world? Theo, come and share. This is a very remarkable man here coming in front of you. So, anyone else after Theo? And then, I invite you for the rest of the night, share your dreams with each other, inspire each other, can we please make tonight the greatest party Davos has ever seen? Do I have your agreement? Are you on board? Theo, tell us.
Hello everybody. Well, the infinite energy that we are at source is going to manifest into the currency that we use to exchange all kinds of... Closer. Closer. Is this okay? Yeah. I didn't want to shout. I was saying the infinite energy that we are at source is going to manifest itself as a currency that we use to exchange all kinds of value and knowledge with each other. Of course, we've got 4 billion people living in the base of the pyramid, and we can't forget that they are also part of humanity. So we're going to be developing, we will have developed over the next 11 years, methods and business models specifically focused on social business, inclusive economics, to have lifted this 4 billion, and I used to be one of this 4 billion, by the way, into the same kind of economic level and sustainability that we have in our lives right now. The digital ledger technology is evolving. There will be more advanced versions than blockchain. There are already more advanced versions of DLT than blockchain. And of course, the SDGs are going to be the framework within which we develop a universal kind of crypto asset, probably backed by renewable energies and such. And those, of course, will be the basis of a sustainable and very empowering digital asset platform. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, thank you. Now we're going to finish with something very, very special. This is a dear friend, Mother Ocean. Okay, we've got one comment before Mother Ocean.
I would like to share a message that came to me one morning as I embraced my daughter. And it was this message. We are all children of Mother Earth. We're now uniting to protect our mother.
Beautiful. Mother Ocean, please close this space for us. Thank you for participating.
Thank you, beloved Lucien. So I just literally walked into the space 2 minutes ago because Lucien came by the Female Quotient Lounge. So I was there today giving a talk on the power of high intelligence. So it feels for us to manifest the benevolent reality that belongs to each of us. It is the most amazing portal is through our heart. So let us take this moment then to close by getting into this wonderful, exquisite, delightful, sweet, sweet, precious space. So I invite you to just close your eyes. For first, this place, heaven on earth, is within us. So let us all collectively as one take a deep down through my body loving breath, together as one. And as we take in this generosity of life, then as we breathe out, feel the offering coming forth from your heart towards all humankind, all 7.7 billion. And as we join together unified in this beautiful, beautiful intention prayer, beseeching this benevolent future to be manifested into the now, let us take another breath together, as one, breathing in, taking this down through my body loving breath. As we pause, take a moment to feel we are receiving so much which triggers the sense of gratitude. And as we breathe out with such ease, again become aware of the blessing you can give forth to life. It is as simple as that, to be a blessing giver. And one more, taking the most gorgeous, sweet, deep down through my body, loving breath together. Pause for a moment to give thanks to all life, to all things, to all people. And then as we breathe out, feel these tremendous, beautiful rays of light, the light of love pouring forth to 7.7 billion humanity on this most beautiful emerald planet that we are sitting on. See so much light pouring forth. And now let's seal this blessing of love for all our human family. As we are here in such a good number, I invite that we use this powerful primordial sound, the Om. 3 Ohms to send it forth afar beyond Davos. Taking a breath in. Breathing in as one. Breathing in. Third breath. Take a moment to just behold this inner space within you, which is a space of love. Even though the sound has stopped, but it continues to reverberate the vibration going forth. May we all remember and awaken as the love master that we are. May we trigger the avalanche of love to create a global nation of love. May all beings in all the worlds be awakened and enlightened. So be it, and so it is. Namaste. Thank you so much, beloved, for giving me the opportunity. Thank you for sharing with all of you. Thank you. Bless you.
Thank you so much, Mother Ocean. This is perfect ending. What a perfect closing prayer. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. There's a last word I would love to share with you. It's a prayer for us all. The choice is ours to rise and act. We are sovereign descendants of sacred blood, uniting, opening our hearts, and rebirthing humanity now. May we harmonize with all beings. May we embrace change in all things. May we celebrate all that is. May we radiate love to all life, such that nothing is left undone. We are stars embodied. We are cells in the body of life. We are children of earth and sun, siblings of all life today. parents of all to come. We are here now as Earth Keepers, integrating the past and building a thriving future for all. May we live this day and every day, this moment and every moment, all in for all life. Thank you. Let's get this celebration started. Thank you so much.